What's up guys, it's They Coming, and I promised in my last video that I would create a response to Clash Tutor's video about the end of engineering. After sitting down to write this video, I decided it would be best if I weren't only directing this at Clash Tutor's comments, but the current system in general and the state of the game. There's several things I have to say on this topic. Part of this video is going to sound a bit like a rant, and to be honest, that can't be helped. There are aspects of matchmaking that have improved. Also, Supercell has improved the overall Clash experience significantly in the past year with the minor balance changes, the quick train feature, and of course, friendly wars. Obviously, this means Supercell is on the right track. They've made small efforts to communicate changes ahead of patch releases, but to me, it still feels like the community is not listened to for feedback to the same extent of other popular and successful gaming communities. Don't get me wrong, I'm very aware that Supercell is a business, a very successful one at that, and that they ultimately make decisions based on financial success or failures. I just have a hard time believing that more meaningful changes to matchmaking and transparency about these changes would cost the company money or somehow damage the community itself. Let's crack right into the state of 0.5 and what is happening to it. First and foremost, I believe the 0.5 strategy is and always has been a very fair and ethical approach to war. What you lack on defense, you possess on offense. While you can take down heavier bases, you're still more easily 3-starred by opponents with weaker offense than you. Beyond this, I look at 0.5 as a way to earn your stripes in a clan. I found myself asking, do I deserve this defense? Am I taking these weight bases in war? If so, then I feel like I'm worthy enough to own those defenses. So my philosophy on it is almost like boot camp. You can't just join the military, you have to go through basic training and prove yourself to be worthy of the title soldier. Obviously, the practice of delaying your defense and pressing your offense can reach a point where the community would cry abuse, and I do too. When you're attaining more than one Town Hall level of offense beyond your max defense, that's wrong. A defending set of 30-30 Royals cannot be dealt with by a Town Hall 8 and will require a dip from a Town Hall 9. Basically, when your engineered base requires a dip attack to 3-star, that's when the fair play aspect of 0.5 begins to break down. Now, I can agree to a certain extent that the 0.5 strategy is, quote, gaming the system. This has always been a fact, but I do not think this is unfair. Again, there's give and take in going the 0.5 route, and I've seen it pay off, and I've seen it bite clans in the butt in recent months. In recent months, 0.5 heavy clans have seen a decrease in the advantage they previously gained in matchmaking. This is because Supercell has, in fact, been changing the matchmaking algorithm to account for unbalanced villages, be them overly offensive or defensive. I've been on the fence about my feelings here. Is this damaging to fair play clans that are 0.5 heavy, or is it correcting a problem with engineered clans? Without knowing what Supercell is actively adjusting with each small update, there is no way to know what is actually happening to 0.5, and this, I believe, is BS. If they need to make consistent changes to the game in order to stop engineered clans from creeping into ethical war clan matchups, then Supercell is not doing enough. Months ago, it was suggested that a Rush Town Hall 10 should automatically incur the weight of a max Town Hall 9, regardless of the defenses and walls they are lacking, and this idea actually caught a lot of traction inside of the war community. This would stop engineering clans in their tracks. However, there are plenty of younger, more casual players that would be affected in terrible ways by this change. These people may not know what they're doing when they hit Town Hall 10 upgrade button and almost permanently wreck themselves and their clan in wars. So from a serious war perspective, yes, I would want this in the game. But I'm also thinking realistically, and I don't think applying this across the board would be fair at all to more casual players. What I think would be a good addition to the matchmaking system would be more options when your leaders search for war, even if it meant that you would wait longer for a war matchup. Let's say there was a, quote, competitive option or box to check for clans with small Town Hall spreads, meaning the top end of your clan was Town Hall 10 and the bottom was Town Hall 8. Also, it would account for a relative balance with offense and defense. We already know that you are more likely to end up with a balanced opponent if you do this, working with smaller Town Hall spreads. Going with the Town Hall 11 through Town Hall 6 spread means it's very difficult for the algorithm to match you appropriately, and I think Clash Tutor has the right idea here. In our matchup with Boston Tea Party and Jericho Rising, these facts are being observed. Boston is running Town Hall 11s through 9s, and JR is running Town Hall 11s through 8s. JR does in fact run into more engineered clans, and Clash Tutor's insight does confirm this phenomenon, at least from what we are observing in our clan family. Boston and JR do not allow rushed villages into their clans, and if they aren't bringing that to the table, why are their opponents getting away with it? It's because engineering is not dead. If it were, as fair play competitors, we would not continue to encounter this in wars. I will acknowledge a slight, very slight decrease in the amount of engineered matchups we are facing, but it's still infuriating, knowing that the enemy has 120 levels of Grand Warden to your 20. In the cases of our engineered matchups, the enemy is typically running between 3 and 5 burner Town Halls. This means that there's like 3 to 5 like Town Hall 6s that are sitting at the bottom of the map. And these Town Halls that sit down there have zero impact on the outcome of a war. As you know, the bottom of a war map is always 3-starred, and so if you just put Town Hall 6s down there, it's alright, well, you know, your bottom guys are just going to face roll that. But at the same time, the enemy is going to be able to face roll your bottom guys, so there's literally zero impact on the bottom of the map. But what that allows for is an overwhelming advantage in the top villages, which is what we're seeing. The enemy will possess, you know, more Town Hall 11s, etc. Our Town Hall 8s will have a good cry about how they couldn't meaningfully contribute to the war, and the clan will move forward. Meanwhile, we're seeing that at the top half of the map, 9 times out of 10, they are stronger than us, with rush Town Hall 10s sprinkled along the map with max troops. Now, a lot of you are going to say, well, if they're rush 10s, you should be easily taking them out. And this is true. What is also true is that a full army of max level Valkyries is an almost guaranteed spam 3-star on any low to mid Town Hall 9 using a bare minimum of fundamental skill. Meanwhile, our guys are trying their best, really working with lower level troops and, you know, working for that 3-star. Well, these guys, they're hardly working. A max level Valkyrie, oh my gosh, just max Valks on a Town Hall 9, it's murder. I mean, you can't stop that. Effectively, we have an ecosystem where spam attacks are considered fair by the game developer. And this, I believe, is wrong. This angle is probably not considered by most people, and it's definitely part of the problem. Add in the fact that the enemy also, in these situations, has an extra Town Hall 10 or 11 with Infernos or even an Eagle, and you've got a serious disadvantage. Your low to mid 9s are 3-starred fresh, giving the enemy more opportunities on the high level 9s. The enemy then ends up with more scout attacks to be able to finesse their Town Hall 10 and 11 hits, which they also have more of. Clash with Ash recently released a fantastic video in which he brought questions and answers from Supercell development team. In it, he asked a lot of great questions that I actually also want to know the answers to. Among them, he highlighted the development team is actually split on the decision to effectively nerf engineered clans, which is really interesting to me. It tells me that Supercell has all of their best interests in mind. They don't want to disenfranchise the casual players because ultimately nerfs to engineered clans would indirectly damage the innocent casual player experience. So while they're indecisive about massive overhauls, I can feel good knowing that these conversations are actually happening and someday they might have an appropriate solution. So if Supercell has killed 0.5, but left engineered clans relatively untouched, and I'm going to say that, relatively untouched, how are we, the war community, supposed to feel about this, and what should we do? Right away, I'm going to say that losing 0.5 is a big hit to the competitive fair play community. All of our strategy guides surrounding it are going to need a major overhaul, and this, like before, is going to take time to collect information on. I do have some initial thoughts though, which fall in line with Clash Tutor's stance. Overall, I see 0.5 needing big changes to be effective in clan matchups. Instead of being this static process that you follow just because you have X level royals and X level defenses, this is going to need to be a more fluid process. Discussions about this in my clans have become more and more oriented towards a more smooth defensive power curve, meaning you should be dropping your expos sooner than in previous 8.5 guides, and your overall defense should be progressed earlier on than before. In my guides, I have suggested starting your expos at 15-15 heroes and finishing level 3 when you have 25-25 heroes. Now I'm suggesting beginning your expos around 10-10 and finishing them at 15-20. That's 15 king and 20 archer queen. Also, progressing your overall defense to match the current meta is the best policy, and Clash Tutor I couldn't agree more with here. When hogs are buffed, the first point defense you wanted to upgrade after your ADs and Teslas were your cannons, because they possess higher DPS and hit points than archer towers, being the most effective defense against the hog rider. Now the meta has shifted to air since the balloon buff, so we should be prioritizing archer towers. In other words, on royals guys, the biggest thing here is that a level 20 archer queen can have a successful walk or charge. If you throw her in with a kill squad, she's going to do plenty of good work for you. In my opinion, the archer queen is the most valuable part of a good Town Hall 9 offense, and once she is 20, you should have no problem taking down max Town Hall 9s if you're planning and executing correctly. I showed you guys in my last Boston War recap some guy with just over 10-10 heroes taking down a max Town Hall 9 with 30-30 heroes defending. So you should understand that royals aren't everything, but their level will dictate to a certain extent the type of attacks you're running and how many mistakes you're able to make and still triple. So here's my first request that will likely be ignored by Supercell. I want Supercell to be completely transparent about base weights and matchmaking. That's a really tall order, but come on, if they're going to quietly change things over and over without telling people what exactly those changes are, how is the fair play community supposed to intelligently compete with engineered clans? And telling some of the high sub YouTubers things behind closed doors and then telling them they aren't allowed to give specific details to their viewers, to me seems kind of silly. Okay, so the information is there, and it might be complicated, but people like me want to know. I've always thought this secretive approach didn't make any sense, and it makes even less sense now that Clash Tutor has confirmed a conversation with Supercell directly on her channel. I also reject the notion that divulging this information would potentially empower engineered clans even more. Because if that's the case, then the algorithm actually is broken. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this wordy video, and I hope you've appreciated my thoughts on this topic. Leave a like and a comment below and tell me what you're experiencing in your clans and what you're doing to balance your 0.5 villages. I'm Day Coming. Take care. See you later.